Welcome back to Conversations with Kate and Carrie. We are so glad that you are joining us today. You know what? Every April, I think everybody starts talking about taxes and money. And no, Carrie, when you start thinking about April and you start thinking about money, what's the first thing that pops into your head?
I wish I lived in a country where we didn't have to do payroll, where we didn't have to do this because it was automatically calculated by the government. That's my first thought is why do we do it this way?
Okay, well, I mean, the first thing that comes into my mind is I wish I had more. All right. Or that I wish that there's always that whole, I wish I had, I could retire early. I wish I had more money. Or it's usually some sort of unpleasant thought, like I don't really want to think about taxes and money. So today, Carrie and I thought we would take kind of a little different approach. Instead of telling you all the reasons why you need to be thinking about taxes in January, why you need to get all your receipts in order, all of that stuff from a business standpoint, we're going to talk to you a little bit about getting your personal house in order. And unfortunately for me, I've had to spend the last year and a half kind of getting through this in a very personal fashion. And so this became something that, although I'm not really excited about talking about this, it's something that I really felt like we needed to talk about. And so you never know when things are going to blindside you, sneak up behind you. And so I really am hoping that today we can at least give you some things to think about related to your own personal finances. So as a household, Carrie, when you start thinking about your household finances, what are all the things that pop into your mind that you're like, okay, these are all the things related to money for us personally?
Well, there's retirement savings. There's having a house where the rent or the mortgage payment is a reasonable portion of your take-home pay. And probably, in early education, or I guess any educator, it's the not buying too many things for your kids at the school or for the school, having a budget. I like a budget. So having a budget is probably one of my first things is, and communicating with the other people who spend money in your household as to how to budget. Because I like to do it one way and my husband likes to do it a different way. And that's not always great. And each of my daughters does it differently. So trying to find some common ground about how you're going to plan how the money works.
Okay. And so you talked a little bit about budgeting, you talked a little bit about retirement, you talked about basically housing. I didn't hear debt. What about debt or cars or transportation? Where does that fall into the money components for you personally?
For me personally, we don't carry very much debt. We mostly we pay most of ours off every month, and I haven't had a car. We tried to have a car payment on the car I just bought, and we were going to pay it with our credit card, and they told us when we bought the car that we could pay it on the credit card and we'd get, bazillions of points on the credit card. And then when we got the little booklet, it wouldn't let us pay with a credit card. So we made different plans. So I'm at this point in my life, well, actually for most of my life, I have just bought a car that I could afford with my current budget. So that meant we spent $2,000 to buy a car that our in-laws didn't want anymore. Or, something like that. I've driven a lot of junkers over the years. And yeah, maybe I only get 2 years out of them, but I'm too much of a math person to want to do payments on a car. Cause I add up what all the payments are and I'm like, wait, that's $10,000 more for that car than what I agreed to pay for it. So I'm not helpful on this.
But it's more about the topic. So it's less about the amount or anything. So I just want people to think about, there's everything from student loans.
Yep. Oh, I did have those. I had those definitely early on.
There's student loans, there's cell phones, there's those things that kind of creep up on us, like
12 different
cable.
streaming services.
I was going to say the subscription services, and you're like, oh, I'll just have it for a few months. And you said something one time that I thought was just really intriguing, which is that you only have the subscription services for when key shows come on, and you only subscribe to them for those few months.
Yep. Like right now I have Apple Prime or whatever it's called, because Ted Lasso is on. And so we have to watch all the Ted Lassos, and then we will turn that back off. And we used to be able to do that with more channels, but more people have done the Disney model, and they just keep releasing new things. It's very irritating to my budget. I don't appreciate it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I thought was really interesting with that I saw, because I was prepping for today's call, I was kind of like going, okay, so what are some tips that maybe I don't know? So one that I found interesting was those prepaid visas that you get as gifts, or that you can buy as gifts. Instead of always putting in your own Visa card, saving some of those prepaid visas for those free weeks or those free trials, and using those prepaid visas, even if they've only got like $1.24, because they are a real Visa number, so they'll work on that free Visa, and you won't get automatically charged. You'll get a notice that it won't charge, right? You'll get a notice.
And then you get to decide, do I actually want to pay for this or not? If you have the $1 the $1 trial, or the 15 days free of whatever it is, I think that's a great idea.
But I thought even if all I did was go buy some $5 cards, or some $10 cards, it would be so worth it just to have some. So I thought that was something that I thought was really, really interesting. One of the things that I did is I started taking off all of the apps that were automatically, or I disconnected all the auto charges on my apps, like my Starbucks app. I got rid of all of the auto Google Pays, the auto paid for things, games. So if you're somebody who has I've got a couple of games that,
oh, I have one that's a problem. I have one that's a problem. And another thing you can do, if you're like, I don't know where all the money is going, here is the scorched earth way to find out where all your money is going. Call all of your credit card companies and tell them your wallet's been stolen and that you need a new card. And so they will give you a new number. And so everything will stop auto renewing. And you'll get messages from people going, hey, we would like you to be able to watch Hulu. Please give us the new credit card information. And you can take that time to go, okay, yes, I still want that subscription service. Or why am I still paying an electric bill in New Jersey? I don't live there anymore, because there was an auto debit for that apartment on that electric bill, and you're still paying the electricity in New Jersey and you don't live in New Jersey. But there are companies that will check to see what all is auto debiting out of your cards, but it's much easier to just tell the banks that your wallet was stolen.
Well, it's also just as easy to, actually, go to the accounts and open and look at your statements. And like back in the old days, for those of you who are listening, there used to not be auto drafts, and you used to have to get a paper mail, and you have to open it, and you'd have to look at it, and you'd have to write a check.
But when we wrote checks, the thing that was coming what we were writing on on the check, we knew was, Texas Gas Company. But when you get the auto debit, sometimes it's QFP 97 because it's, an abbreviation of their bank routing number. And you don't know what that is that's debiting out of your account for $27. And a lot of those companies make it hard for you to track down what that $27 is.
Yep.
And so if you can't figure out what some of those things are, cancel them. They will let you know. If you cancel the card, you'll find out what QF, whatever it was, is, because they'll reach out to you and go, hey, we can get
Absolutely.
our $27.
So Carrie went to basically step 2. I was talking about step 1, which is open the statements, look at the statements, figure out, where are you spending your money? And, and it may be exactly where you want to be spending it. I'm not here to judge where you're spending your money. I'm just saying, do you have your backup? Do you have your 6-month reserve? Are you getting to spend your vacation? Are you enjoying your vacation? Do you have some hobbies? Do you have some retirement plan? Are you spending too much money on cell phone bills? Cell phone bills right now are something that drive me insane. I know I spend too much money on them. I know, but we're on contracts on them because we're with companies that we've always been with because it's easy.
Yep.
And so I have to, at some point in time, when the one contract is done, I will probably, bite the bullet and actually spend some time doing the research again, which I've done before. But I always feel like there's got to be something better.
Well, I mean, so going back to that whole, paying attention to where the money goes, and are you paying yourself first? And for some people, that's putting money into their emergency fund or their retirement fund or something like that. For other people, paying themselves first is getting an envelope and putting their fun money into an envelope and being like, this is the money I'm going to spend this pay period to go enjoy myself. I don't care which way it is, but you should pay yourself first because you're working for this money. And, if I were a financial analyst or a financial planner, I'm sure I would have strong feelings about it. But what I have strong feelings about as a mentor for directors is that this is your one life and you need to have some enjoyment out of it, whether that's saving for retirement so that you can go buy a Winnebago and drive around the national parks as a national parks volunteer, or whether it's going to go see whatever the hot movie is right now. I don't know what's hot right now. I know that earlier this year there was Magic Mike, whatever it is, 87. And so I imagine there were some directors who wanted to go see Magic Mike 87 and didn't feel like they could spend that money because whatever, they got rear-ended the week before Christmas and they needed to get a new car.
Okay, so this is where I am going to do my really quick and really short, maybe soapbox. Okay, so because you never know what's going to happen, even when you don't think it's going to happen, make sure that somewhere you are putting yourself, and every member of your family has their own version of a backup plan. And I'm not trying to say to be negative about whatever is your current living situation if you have a significant other, but there should always be if you have a significant other, there should be a retirement plan for both.
Yep.
Not just that your retirement's going to be based off of one person. And so even if that is the $5,000 a year Roth IRA, put something in it. I don't care if it's $100, put something in it. Make sure that you've got your own 6-month,
Emergency fund.
I know you called it something when your kids were young. I was thinking and talking at the same time,
Well,
which is not good.
what I was going to say is if your living arrangement is not that you have a spouse, but you have a roommate, you need to have the get out of Dodge money.
That's what you called it.
You need the get out of Dodge money so that you can put a deposit down on the next apartment and you can buy yourself out of the rest of your lease, because you may be having a roommate who is your best friend, and your best friend decides to go a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and you need to be able to have get out of Dodge money so that you can let them go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in the apartment and you can go somewhere else.
Or they pick up a significant other who's cuckoo, because
Yes.
sometimes it's not even them. Sometimes they brought home a stray.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I can share stories of not just our own stories and not
our kids' stories, our friends' stories. Yeah.
Yeah. We
so
we
you
don't have
need
to
to
go
have
very
money.
far out of our circle to get some really wild stories, but
yep. And so you need to have money so that you can do that. It's just like you shouldn't go on a date without having enough money on whatever card is attached to your ride sharing device to get out with a ride sharing app. Like we used to have $20 to pay the cab. That's not a thing anymore.
And a quarter.
So you can call the cab. But now it's that you need to make sure whatever card is hooked up to Lyft or Uber or the 12 other versions of that there are, that card has money on it. So that you can call that ride to come and pick you up. You wouldn't let your teenage child go on a date without that kind of backup. Why would you have that for yourself?
Yep.
You need to have get out of Dodge money.
Absolutely. So, so again, I don't want anybody to be discouraged. My situation came out of nowhere. We all have dental work, health issues. We've all had something that's come up unexpected. It could be that rear-ended car situation. It could be the flaky roommate, whatever it is. And
unexpected babies.
Yeah, unexpected babies. So whether you're 20 with an unexpected baby, whether you're 50 with an unexpectedly single, whatever that scenario is, where had I been, building my own retirement, even at $5,000 a year for the previous 20 years, there would have been something there where I hadn't put anything away because we were building his for us. So just get your own it's not necessarily taking care of yourself. You're still taking care of your family. And that's what I want you to do. Take care of your family. Make sure you've got, check in with health insurances, check in with life insurances, understand the different types of insurances. If you're not sure, do the research, check with people you know and trust. And
and if your insurance agent doesn't explain it in a way that you can understand it, you need to get a different insurance agent. Same thing with loan officers for your mortgage. If they don't explain it in a way that you can understand it, then they don't deserve their premium for being your representative. Absolutely. They're supposed to explain it so that you can understand it. And if they try to make you feel stupid, make them feel stupid by taking your money elsewhere.
Absolutely. So, yeah. So there's some basics, make sure that you've got, enough money in your budget to take care of everything with still having something left at the end of the month. And if not, figure out what needs to go, or if you need to pick up that side hustle, that weekend gig. I think most people I know at some point in time have had 2 jobs or 3 jobs, or, did some babysitting, delivered newspapers,
Yeah. And we hope that a director doesn't need to do that because they're being compensated appropriately. But what happens is that sometimes we add this chart, this subscription and this thing and this thing and this thing. And all of a sudden you have 4 car payments and you're like, how did this happen? Well, it happened. And so
if you've got children, I mean, it doesn't take long if you've got teenage children and college age children, and you know, you've done the pass down of the cars. Well, at some point in time, the pass down of the cars or phones or all those things, right? Things eventually break. So at some point in time, things need to be replaced. So
if you're in one of those situations where you're having to pick up some extra work, that does not mean that you have failed as a director or that you failed in any way. What that means is that life got away from you. And I don't want you to feel bad about that. I just want you to use all of the stress about money in April to go, okay, should I just cancel all my cards and find out what blows up? Should I do the Kate route, which is probably more sane? So you can go with the Carrie route or the Kate route, and try to scale some things back. But if you have to have 4 car notes, you have to have 4 car notes, and you can't maybe turn those cars in to get a junker because they're no longer worth what you still have left on the note. So you might as well keep the car.
Well, and there's no longer really junkers anymore. I mean, right now in 2023,
there aren't
to find just a junker at a junker price. I mean, you can find them, but you're not paying junker prices on them. I mean, it's pretty hard to find. So,
yep. And, again, we're just here to go, hey, this is a great time to take stock. And if you need help trying to figure out a side hustle, the internet is your friend. But do that research on an incognito browser, please, so that it doesn't, what you decided you don't want to do doesn't chase you around the internet. Again, we have young adults. We've seen that happen.
So, and, just want to remind everybody, if you are a Texas director, in other words, you have been through our course, you renew with us, you do get 5 hours a year of coaching. So coaching is not consulting. So in other words, we're not going to tell you what you need to do. But if you need us to help you with those tough questions, feel free to send us an email, Kate at Texas Director or Carrie at Texas Director, and we'd be happy to spend some of that time with you, maybe helping you kind of sort through that a little bit if you need us to. Sometimes just a really good friend who's willing to be blunt with you. And so preface it with them and make sure that you're in a good headspace for this conversation. Yep. If you're a little moody and you're eating a lot of chocolate, don't have this conversation with your friend if you want to keep this friendship. So.
Okay, so I hope this has been helpful. And, you've heard that we've been in those situations. I've worked 3 jobs at a time. Kate's worked multiple jobs at a time. We've had kids, friends, family. Again, it's not going to last for very long as a director that you have to do that if you have to do it. So just take a little bit of deep breath and power through. And if you aren't in that situation and all you got to do is look at your budget and reallocate so that you're paying yourself first to have a little fun and save a little bit, then just do that and be glad that you're in a good situation. And we'll see you next week.